Hi everyone, my name is Sara and I am a compulsive eater, down and dirty compulsive overeater, and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I write them down, I call them into my sponsor, and I eat what I say I'm going to eat. I don't eat in between meals, no matter what. It truly is the most important thing in my life, without exception. And as I've said earlier, my abstinence date is May 24th. 2009. The 1983 just kept going through my head, and that's because I found Gray Sheet in 1983. And it's a long time between 1983 and 2009. That's how long I resisted the solution. There's an old Chinese curse that says, "May you live in interesting times." And this feels like very interesting times right now. It feels like the world's turned upside down. And I want to say that with everything that's going on and the stock market going crazy and borders closing and opening, all that's on my mind is, do I have 2 weeks worth of food in my kitchen? If anything happened, would I be able to stay abstinent? And I'm really proud of that, because I have been taught by you guys that I plan, I prepare, I do anything to protect my abstinence, and that there is nothing that can happen in the world that I can't get through. And I've known enough people now in Gray Sheet that I've seen people go through tremendously hard, difficult things in the hospital where they've had stuff cut out of their stomach, and people show up. I mean, Gray Sheeters can be really amazing when we need other people. And so that's what's been on my mind is that's the most important thing. I did get sick, and I had a cold. I don't think I got the virus, but everybody here in France, they're not getting crazy. There's no hysteria. Everybody's sort of keeping calm and washing their hands. But so I've had a lot of time at home, and it's been kind of nice reading and getting my kitchen ready and doing all that. I've been able to cook things. But my story, I think most everybody's heard my story. So, the highlights really are that I believe I was born a compulsive eater. I don't remember ever having a normal relationship with a bite of food. And I've really thought about that because, a lot of people think, well, is it nurture? Is it nature? And I think that I was just born an addict. I think it was compounded by a lot of difficulties in my childhood. And I was a pretty lonely kid and always thought I was from Mars or something, and, different than other people. And so I just had this big hole in my soul, and I kept feeding it with food, and I kept feeding it with food. And I would get food wherever I could get it. I didn't call it stealing when I was sneaking into into the kitchen after the kitchen was closed. I just knew it was wrong. I was going to get in trouble. But I did then learn how to steal money first from my mother's purse, and then from stores. And then I got pretty good at it. I stole my way through Europe, and I had a lot of amends to make. And I did whatever it took to feed my habit. And I was writing today about something, and just these words, I call myself a food addict now. And the first time that word was used, I really cringed. It's like, okay, it was hard enough calling myself a compulsive eater, but addict, that's way too much. And I found that the more I use the words that really apply, the easier my recovery is. That I have a habit. I would feed it. I would steal. I would lie. I would do whatever it took to get food. People say that that we don't have willpower. That's why we're fat. And I had so much willpower. I could find food anywhere 24 hours a day. And I didn't care who I knocked over or whose meal I stole, you know, that if they got up from the restaurant and left their food and I would somehow manage to get it onto my table. You know, that's insanity. That is what the second step calls insanity, you know, no, that is not a normal way to think about food. It's not a normal way to eat, and it's not a normal way to relate in the world. So I've learned now to use the words that are appropriate, that I'm an addict, I had a habit, I was a sugar junkie. It was like crack sugar, crack cocaine to me. I mean, it was just horrible, and it went on and on and on. I dieted. The first diet worked, and I kept weight off for about a year and a half, and then gained it all back. And then I discovered speed, and speed worked. I lost a lot of weight, and my grades went up because it turned out I had a lot of difficulty concentrating and focusing. So, of course, if it worked, I was going to do more of that. So I had about a 7-year love affair with drugs that just turned really bad on me. And I was trying to remember the other day if there was anything other than getting my stomach stapled and this band I've just learned about, that I don't think there was anything else that I hadn't tried. And I thought I was scared of needles. I get really scared when I have to give blood, but I was willing to have, you know, shots in my butt if I was gonna lose weight, and I didn't seem scared at all. So I just did that until my sister, who lived in Cambridge, went to an OA meeting, and it turned out I don't know how to not touch my face. They tell you not to touch your face, and I am doing it every single minute. Stop it, Joel. Anyway, my sister was living in Cambridge, and she went to an OA meeting that turned out to be a gray sheet meeting, but she didn't know that there was any other kind of OA meeting. So she wrote me and told me to go to OA. And I think I was about 32 or 33 at the time. And I in California, I did go to OA, and I went for 4 years and couldn't figure out what was going on. I don't think I was very receptive to it. So, you know, I think a lot of us say it didn't work, OA, but I wasn't very receptive. I don't think it would have worked even if I was receptive, because the thing that I love about Gray Sheet is it's so structured, and I thrive with structure. I thrive with a structured day. I thrive knowing that at this time I do this, and at that time I do that. I don't like having to make decisions all at once. You know, I'm good at it, but I get overwhelmed very quickly. So I don't think it would have worked for me. But when I visited my sister, and she took me to my first Gray Sheet meeting in 1983, I didn't want to do it. And I didn't want to do it because I wanted to be thin, and I wanted to eat whatever I wanted to eat. And it turns out that's exactly what I was doing. I was eating whatever I wanted to eat whenever I wanted to eat it, and I was fat. It wasn't ever going to make me thin to do that. So that was quite a shock, but it took me 26 years to figure that out. And I didn't come back to Gray Sheet on my hands and my knees. I ran into a friend that I'd had in Overeaters Anonymous in San Francisco, and neither one of us lived in San Francisco. And she had known me back when the 5 months I actually did Gray Sheet, and had made fun of me. And she hugged me, and she said, "You'll never guess what I'm doing." And she was 3.5 years abstinent. And from that day in December of 2005, I have weighed and measured every meal. I have had 4 day ones. My last day one was May 24th. And I still, you know, I was determined to stick. I was just going to stay with Gray Sheet. I knew it was the last house on the block for me, and I had tried everything else. But I now think I just wasn't willing to surrender 100%. And thank you, Susanna. I do see you. So an example would be that after I got abstinent on May 24th, about 3 or 4 months into that, I was making my dinner and I was pouring something. You know, shouldn't do it. We measure everything separately and then put it together. But I didn't do that because I'm special. And I was about a tenth of an eighth of an ounce over, and I picked it up and was going to go into the TV room and eat it. And I'm sure that if I had clear thoughts, that the clear thought would have been, well, I'm not going to gain weight from that, which is diet mentality, or nobody will ever know. And it didn't matter whether anybody ever knew. It mattered that I knew. And I think my higher power just was sick and tired of me having day ones. And somehow I just walked over to the sink and I put it in the sink and I started over again. And that was the first time that I knew what no matter what meant, that we just do what we're told no matter what. And I was always trying to cut corners. I was always, in my entire life, I was trying to cut corners, and I got away with it in a lot of things. And alcohol and food, were challenging. I could not cut a corner with either of them. And I just didn't understand powerlessness. I thought being powerless meant weak. And that just really upset me that anybody would think I was weak. So my surrender to this program was I had to turn everything upside down. I had to think about everything differently, that being weak is actually, admitting my weakness was actually a strength. Saying the words exactly that pertain to me was a strength, and it would help me. And admitting I didn't know anything about food or nutrition or anything, that all these books I'd read was a strength, and that you guys had to tell me what to do. It was really amazing to me that how much I liked being told what to do. I had always been the person in charge. I was always taking care of other people. And it was really amazing to me. I have fallen in love with this program. It fits me perfectly. I love GreySheeters Anonymous. I love my food. I hated food when I first came in. I'd only eaten out of boxes and cans and cartons. I didn't know how to cook. My sponsor, who lived in the same city as me, had to come over and help me redo my kitchen so that it was Gray Sheet friendly. I had stuff in my kitchen I never used so that it would look pretty. And anyway, things like that. And so my life really has turned around, and working the steps was important because I was told if you don't change your thinking 100%, you'll go back to doing what you were doing. So I didn't ever want to go back there. It was hell. If I haven't described it well enough, I'll just say it was hell. But I think everybody that's looking at me knows exactly what I mean. So I have worked the steps diligently, and I've listened to, when I'm not sure, if I don't trust my brain or my mind, I call and ask somebody, does this make sense? Is it my disease talking, or am I actually learning how to be an adult? Because it's not worth it to me. I don't think I could even get close to a thought of binging and not be able to stop. I just don't even want to find out. And what I do on a daily basis has worked, so I don't change it. I have a friend in AA, and he says, I do all these things. I go to 7 meetings a week. I go to blah, blah, blah. And he said, I don't know if every single one of them keeps me sober, but I don't want to lose one of them and find out that's the one that's not keeping me sober. So I feel the same way about my abstinence. I don't want to find out if I don't do something that's the crucial stone in the wall, you know. So I love all of you guys. My time is up, and I was thinking as I was sitting here, you know, I got asked at the last minute how grateful I am for technology. We don't have meetings here in Paris. I don't know, it sounds like a lot of face-to-face meetings aren't meeting right now, and that we Zoom people are having to teach face-to-face people how to use Zoom for a while. It's such, I do see you, Susanna. I'm trying to extend my sentence to say how very, very grateful I am for technology, and that you all show up abstinent, and that you help me every single day. Thank you.